I think for iLight Marina Bay, the story behind it is really when URA started to look at the development and the transformation of the bay. We realized that it was very important that besides looking at putting in place the public infrastructure as well as guiding developers in the development of various buildings and properties, the public spaces around Marina Bay should have a life of its own. So in 2010, we decided to have the first edition of iLight Marina Bay to activate the public spaces around Marina Bay. And the beautiful skyline that we have forms the perfect backdrop for this exhibition of light art installations. So that was a principal consideration for us at the very beginning. Yeah.
I still remember fondly, 2010 was really, for the first time, we really see the Bay complete. And there were eager eyes coming to really walk the city. I think one of the interesting things is that looking at the Bay, it is really that vision. And in fact, I think what this festival does is really making the people make and enjoy this new part of the city and something to be proud of, isn't it?
Yes.
Since then, I guess from 2010 to right now, the city has progressed, and I think this festival, in a way, has also kind of developed over time. I think one of the key things that these festivals have really evolved, in theme, in terms of the kind of work that you're looking at, how do we actually begin to actually see the festival, the people, and the backdrop all come together.
Yeah. So I think for iLight Marina Bay, when we look at how we can position it in a more unique manner, we decided to align it with how we have positioned Marina Bay. As a sustainable precinct, we advocated as the National Land Use Planning Authority on having sustainable features in the development, in the physical development of Marina Bay. So for the festival itself, we felt that the theme of sustainability must be core to the festival's essence. And in the positioning, therefore, for the festival, we position it as Asia's leading sustainable light art festival. And the process then allows us to invite artists and designers to participate in the festival by looking at how the light art installations can convey that message of sustainability in a very effective way. And this has been achieved in a few ways. One is in the use of the materials for many of the light art installations. They use energy efficient lighting. They use the materials that have been recycled or upcycled. And I think this has gone a long way for us to reach out to the general public to reinforce that message.
I still remember, it's not just open to the international artists. In fact, it was also open to the school in terms of the community itself. And I think that was pretty meaningful. I think the artwork didn't differentiate between an open call or a student's work. And what was beautiful is that sighting within this bay, I think one of the fond memories is that each of the work kind of brings its own delight, kind of moments with the people. It could be a family, when you see them in the evening coming for a stroll, having a meal, they spend the time to walk the place and they encounter the light. I think just like this wonderful light installation which you see here.
We have obviously the beautiful 3.5 kilometer waterfront promenade. The public spaces that forms the promenade, as well as some of the big event spaces, offers us beautiful, excellent sites for us to place the artworks. But what's very interesting is in the process of looking where are the ideal or best places to site some of these artworks, we realized that there are actually small pockets of spaces that can be equally interesting to place certain artworks. And when visitors come down and they start to walk around the area, they will realize that at a certain turn of the corner, or when they take a peep around an area that is landscape, there's possibly an interesting artwork that's been sited there. And I think that adds to the delight for some of these visitors, isn't it?
Yes, I think this narrative really resonates, even, talking about in where to site them. Some could be just a thin strip of landscape, and you'll find a blinking eye, looking at you. I still fondly recall. And there are some instances where we also kind of activate the so-called
underutilized
spaces, like these shelters that was built, purposefully built, and we kind of put in the artwork, in a way transform what was visibly a resting point into something else. I think the interaction here is always with not just citing the artwork that speaks by itself, but it's how it relates to the public infrastructure, like a bench, like the tree, like the building next to it, and it's having that conversation. Yes. I think this is what a site-specific work tend to do, and it is indeed, I would say that there is a casting of a new eye to look at a space to say, hey, this artwork kind of position in such a way that it has given a kind of new glimpse of this new city that you have never seen before.
Yes. And we didn't do this just on our own. Obviously, also we work very closely with many of the stakeholders around Marina Bay, and some of them have spaces within their private property boundary, and when they are supporting the festival, when they are on board, we also see how some of these spaces can also be very nice spots for some of these artworks. And the process also calls for us to discuss extensively with artists as to how and where to site the artworks. I think that's a very important point as organizers, as the curator for the festival, where we consult the artists and get their input. And sometimes we may have an initial thought about where to place the artworks, but after some discussion, we may realize that there's actually a better location. So this is really about finding out more about how the public spaces can better be presented, be utilized to present the artworks. I think that's important because very often we forget that public spaces is intended for the community. And if we are able to optimize what it has to offer through the exhibition of light art installations, I think people will come to appreciate these spaces in a much bigger way. And I think that is how we want this festival to be meaningful to the community as we organize every edition.
There are more people coming to see this light festival, isn't it? If I'm not wrong, it's a year-on-year incremental of 15 to 20%.
Yes, that's right.
And I think that really say it all. I mean, in terms of what Marina Bay, as it epitomized, is really a place for, something that as a Singaporean, which we are proud of. It is a city that is not just a show-off, but rather it is to form memories. I think here, when we see the families, the kids, kind of encounter the artwork along the way, what the joy as being a curator in the last 3 editions is really, you see the smile, in their face, and it's really amazing how the young and old could enjoy it, even though that they may not understand in terms of some of the work. But I think the act of interacting with it, coming with a family, walking and enjoying the city, the breeze, and of course the beautiful bay, I would say that it's quite indescribable in terms of as a feeling. Yeah.
Now we realized that with a light art festival, obviously the exhibition of light art installations is important.
Yeah.
But for the community to be able to better relate with a festival, we felt that it was good if we can layer it with other activities that complements the exhibition of artworks. And what we have done in the last few years is we have introduced, through partnership with various corporate partners, to bring in very interesting events. So this year in particular, we have the Carnival. It's great for family entertainment. Families coming down can also have a ride, play some games besides looking at the art installations.
And one important takeaway is really, most of the events are free, if I'm not wrong, and except for the art zoo. And I think that's the whole idea, to able to get people to come to the public space, seeing the work for free in a way. Not so much of to say that they come here for the free food and whatnot, but I think the idea here is that it is a public space to be shared with the rest of the community in Singapore as well as the tourists alike. And I think that's something that we have treasured, and in some way, the contestation for free space, as one were to really put it, is very much a planned one, in a sense to say that when we have a free space, it's because we plan the other spaces well, just like it took 50 years to plan this space such that we have a beautiful promenade that we can walk about. And I think that is a very compelling narrative.
Yes. Of course, with a festival of this scale, there will obviously be some challenges that we encounter every year. So I think the first thing obviously is the ability for us to maintain these artworks over the 3-week period of the festival. Many of them needs to be maintained almost on a daily basis, but we have a very effective team of technical support crew helping us, so that allows us to ensure that every night when visitors come down, they can still experience and observe and appreciate these artworks in a comfortable and effective manner. And I think we, as organizers of iLight Marina Bay, often get asked the question, how is a light art festival that consumes energy, how is it possible for it to be a sustainable event or even advocate sustainability? Yes. And often our answer to that question would be, on a few fronts, we try to achieve that. The first way we do so is, as I mentioned earlier, on the encouraging artists to produce their artworks in an efficient and sustainable manner. But we also have this campaign called the Switch Off, Turn Up campaign, where we work with our partners, many of them building owners and properties around Marina Bay and beyond, during the 3-week festival to switch off non-essential lighting and turn up the temperature of the air condition. In this way, there's a lot of savings from the energy consumption. And what is very heartening is, besides supporting this effort during the 3-week duration of the festival, they continue to practice this beyond the festival. And what we have done is, when we did some energy use audit, we realized that the energy that we saved, and compared to the energy that we consume during the festival period, there is a significant net savings. So this is one avenue that we are able to really put out the message of sustainability. Now, the next edition will be very special because we are expanding the footprint of the festival geographically beyond Marina Bay itself to go into the Civic District and Singapore River. I think that enlargement of the space that we now have to present the entire series of artworks will be further maximized, because we believe that the river in particular has many bridges that allows us now to invite artists to see how they can bring in an art installation that will bring out the character, the profile of the bridge in a way that will make it even more beautiful. Also, with the expansion into the Civic District, we are looking at how artworks that resides in a landscape environment can also be optimized and advocate message about being green, being sustainable, and protecting our environment, our greenery.
I think it's really interesting to really put forth the idea that how this narrative actually evolved. I mean, 50 years, Singapore was, as what was our forefathers say, from mud pits to metropolis, and this is where this site have shown. And right now, how we kind of expand beyond that 50 years narrative, which is the next lap, in a sense to say, what is that future in terms of, in a land-scarce city like Singapore, as we talk about, what's the idea of free space meant to the public, and how do we actually dealt with the idea between the contestation, if there were to talk about. And I think having the next year edition in terms of linking to the Civic District, to the Fort Canning, and to some of the historical heritage where Raffles set foot before, I think they are interesting narrative that's kind of layered, and I think it will make this festival really rich. And I would think that it's just something that it kind of grow by itself organically, and I really look forward to really see the next edition.